Hey everyone, it's all the Backyard Gardener here, and guess what today is? Today is July 2nd, which means my apple trees that I started from seeds on January 1st, 2016 are officially over a year and a half old. That's right, they're 18 months now, so I thought it'd be a good time to show you where they're at since the last video where I posted they were 17 months old. Let's go take a look at them. So we'll start with the Runts first. I say the Runts because they're the smaller ones of the two. I will point out that this one was attacked by rabbits in the spring and they chewed off a lot of the bark. I wrapped it, as you recall watching the other videos, and you know, it's surviving. It's I don't know if this is going to affect its long-term growth, and maybe that's why it's kind of stunted, but it is growing. It is now almost 7 feet tall. The growing tips are coming in pretty good, so I'm happy about that. I will tell you though, it was stunted for a while when the trunk was eaten by the rabbits. It almost didn't do anything for several months. So the good news is it looks like it's coming back. I've just recently fertilized it a few weeks ago, and I'm pretty happy with overall its growth. Now, I'm not going to prune this right now. I mean, obviously I really don't want this branch right here growing towards the middle, and you know, I might not want some of this lower branching down here. I might want to bring it up a little bit, but what I understand about fruit trees is when they're young, you really just want to put on as much foliage as possible to support a strong root structure and root growth. And for those of you that don't know, a lot of fruit trees actually get a lot of their nutrients from the top part of the soil. So it is good to mulch around them. Now, my grass is starting to impede upon the apple tree here, so I'm probably going to have to chop a nice little couple of feet around it, mulch around it a little bit, and let it continue to be able to draw nutrients from the top of the soil without competing with the grass. But it is almost 7 feet tall. Over here, I've got the other one that I planted, and this one also had its bottom portion eaten by rabbits. They love when nutrition is low in the winter. Early spring, they love chomping on young fruit tree bark, but it's recovering. This is the one that's the twin towers, as you can see. It's also now 7 feet tall and doing really well. It's got a lot of new growth coming in. Again, it's crazy. A little bit of fertilizer goes a long ways on these guys, and I'm pretty happy with the overall foliage that's coming in on this one. You can see we've got several branching going on here. Several branching going on. So I'm really happy about that. It looks really healthy. Again, I'm still up in the air about whether or not I should cut off one of these leaders, since there is two, and I know that can cause problems later in life for the tree, especially if this one gets really thick and heavy with foliage. It could snap it here, but for now I'm going to let it go at least through the rest of this year as a twin tower kind of set, and possibly come winter I'll debate about whether or not I want to chop it down. But it's looking fantastic. You know, I get a lot of questions in my videos about what the other trees are next to my apple trees, and I've got a couple of them. These are crabapple trees, guys, and these have been in, this one's been in the ground for about 5 years. I planted it when it was in a little 2-gallon pot, 3-gallon pot, and it produces these little tiny crab apples. Really aren't edible. I mean, I've heard stories of you can boil them down and make a jam out of them if you wanted to. I'm not interested in that. But what I am interested in is having these guys because they're great for apple cross-pollination. They help produce more quality and more abundant fruit. So we've got this variety here, and I'm not exactly sure what kind of crabapple it is. And then we've got a royalty crabapple over here. It puts out bigger crabapples, about ping pong ball sized crabapples. There's a couple of them on here. Same thing, not really edible, but you could boil them down and make a jam out of them. I really like the leaves on these. They're beautiful. This purple, dark green color. Anyway, I've got two of them over here. They're really specifically just to help and assist in pollinating my young apple trees over here. Now let me take you over to the original one I planted, which is just going bonkers. So here's the other apple tree. This is the original one I put in the ground first, a few weeks ahead of the last two you just saw. It's also on the side of the yard that gets probably the best sunlight, a good mixture of 8 full hours, and then some cooling down period at night because of the blocking of that house there, which is good for it. And this guy is now 9 feet tall. 9 feet tall, guys. And again, I'm not going to be topping these. If you watch the earlier videos in the series, you'll notice that I topped them when they were indoors to keep them small, and now I have not topped them other than the original few months when they first were out here to acclimate them so they didn't have to support so much leaves. But this guy is doing great. His trunk is officially starting to really thicken up now. This thing is probably more than 1 inch in diameter, and I think in the last video it was about 3/4 of an inch. So what I've noticed is, despite maybe not so much foliage, the trunk is really starting to thicken up on this guy. And right around the 4-foot mark is the first branching that we have here. Looks really healthy. We also have around the a little bit over 4-foot mark, we have a couple of other branches going on. And again, I'm not concerned with how it's growing. We have this really acute angle right here growing against the tree, which would come off eventually. I will take it off, but for now we just want to put on as much foliage, as much green leaves as possible. Let this guy fatten up his trunk, let this guy put down some great roots, so that way he can survive another winter, which apple trees will, and we don't get it too bad here, but I want him to be able to survive it and think about possibly in his 3rd year maybe putting on a flower or two. But if not, I'm okay with it just continuing to grow. Now, at the end of this year, come next spring, I do plan on kind of forming part of the canopy, and I will show you guys more videos down the road, because I am doing this every single month all the way until either it dies, produces fruit, or the series just goes dead. In the meantime, I wanted to give you another look at this guy. 9 feet tall, guys. He's about a foot over the fence now, and that fence is about 8 feet. And you got to remember, he's in the ground about a foot as well. So, looking fantastic. They're coming along nicely. I couldn't be happy with these apple trees that I've grown from seeds. So there you have it, everyone. That's the 18-month update on my apple trees I've grown from seeds. In case you're not all caught up, please click the link below and get all caught up on the series. If you recall, these are Gala apples, or at least that's where the type of apple that I pulled the seeds out of. We all know that apple seeds don't typically, and not even typically, they really don't produce true to fruit type seeds. However, that's not the project I have going on. This is more of a fun project. If I could possibly get an apple that's edible off these trees, I'll be happy. And then if I can get one that's fantastically edible, that would be awesome. If you're enjoying the series, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.